Thank you very much for this kind introduction. Great to be here. Happy to connect with you over the next 2 days. And today I'm speaking about the next level of human-computer interaction. So as humans, we've had long desire to communicate and the need for information. And to fulfill these two needs, we've gone a long way of innovation, starting all the way back with basic smoke signals, then the innovation of printing press, the telephone, and until later we developed computers and the internet. And so here you can see with the evolution of information and communication devices. So when it comes to information, starting off with large mainframes that filled a whole room, later on the trend was getting this technology smaller and smaller and capable to do even more. And on the communication side, we started off with a telephone, just able to transmit basic voice messages. And then over time, the devices got smaller and smaller, and at the same time, being able to deal with more functionality. And so not just the devices got better, but in order to do that, also the infrastructure needed to get much better. So now we are at 4G, and today I'd like to talk about the next level of such a communication information device. Here, MagicLeap 1 is one of the leading devices when it comes to communication information device at the next level. So just a quick question. Who of you has already heard about MagicLeap 1? OK, 4 or 5 hands. Yeah. Who of you has already tried one? 1 person, 2, 3? OK, not bad. So basically, what MagicLeap 1 does, it unites the power of a modern notebook and a smartphone, the capabilities of a smartphone. So now many of you might think, OK, but I've got a modern notebook and a smartphone. Why would I need another device? Similar to 10 years ago, when smartphones were introduced to the market, where people were like, why would I need a smartphone? I've got a mobile. And now I'm pretty sure it's hard to find somebody who wants who doesn't use the benefits of a smartphone. And so I'd like to talk a bit about what we use MagicLeap for in order to show you the tremendous benefits of this next step of technology. So when it comes to 3D visualization, with this device, you put it on and you're able to literally see in 3D. This is obviously hard to demo here because I could only bring one device and not for each of you, but I'd be happy to give you that experience. For now, we have to stick with a 2D traditional video that I'm going to show. Then a second use case is learning and training. And the third thing is for communication and collaboration. So in the first video that we're going to see, there is an architect who basically who brought a BIM file, which is a building information model, onto MagicLeap device and is checking it out now in 3D. So just to give you a bit of an idea, obviously it's difficult to showcase in 2D, but so it's much easier for the design, the review process. And you can also walk in this app. So this takes a day to import the Revit file, so those into architecture. You might want to check it out, to get this file on the platform. And then you are even able to walk through the different rooms and really get an impression of the building and how it feels like to be in that building. In the second video, it's about 2 product designers reviewing the design of a sports car. So it can be literally used to collaborate and to see like together at the same space and talk about the same 3D object. So now you might say, like, okay, I neither work in product design nor am I an architect. Why would I use that device for? So I just want to talk about a few use cases like throughout the different jobs that I had where I would use this device for. So 15 years ago, when I started as software engineer on the trading floor of Société Générale in Paris, like we were 300 people in the trading room, and basically every trader had 7 screens. Like this, you can imagine, it's like a whole wall of screens. And not just the screens that took a lot of space, but at the same time, it took for each computer could only power 2 screens. So this meant up to 4 workstations, which produced a lot of heat, and the rows were pretty narrow, so you can imagine in summer what that meant. And instead of that, they could have just worn a device like that and see all the different data that they wanted to look at the same time, because already now there's an app where you can have basically infinite amount of screens that you can power up, resize at the different sizes that you'd like to have it, and get the information at the moment and the time that you want it. So, and at the same time, for them, privacy is an issue. So they don't want colleagues for sensitive data to be seen. So with this device, they would have had large benefits to do that daily work. After that, I joined Capital Fund Management, which is one of the leading, world-leading hedge funds. So there it was all about working in a team with theoretical physicists on complex data modeling. And we were restricted to displaying that data in 2D. So it would have been a tremendous benefit to be able to analyze the data, because we had really innovative models and ways of how to tweak the different data to see what we want to see within all the noisy financial data time series. And so to be able to see that in 3D, it would have just really speeded up our whole daily job. After that, I did a bit of shift and went into strategy consulting. So this didn't just mean working on totally different topics and people, but it also meant taking a flight every Monday morning between 7 and 7:30 and flying back Thursday evening. So if I had had a device like that already back then, we could have just collaborated so much easier and wouldn't have to fly around all the time in order to assemble the team. And after that, when I had my own startup, this was a fashion technology startup, and it was all about fashion recommendation, personalized recommendation based on AI models, a lot of data that we took from the internet in order to get to learn our models, what is good style, which kind of outfits fit together, 4 to 6 pieces. And for that, now there's already an app on this device that you can display fashion items in 3D. I mean, this is so much more, so much better in terms of how to get a feeling of, is this the item that you want to purchase? And after that, I went into digital innovation consulting. So for that, it meant a lot of design thinking sessions with hundreds of Post-its, sticking on the wall, regrouping, prioritizing, regrouping, and so on. And then for this, we would always have to fly in order to assemble the teams in different locations. And now there's an app where you can actually do exactly that, but just in a virtual room. And additionally, you would not have to deal with the Post-its that kept falling off the wall, depending on the walls that you had. And so there is just so many potential in the benefits of this device. And I'll invite you to think about what it is in your life that you would want to see, because it's not just for enterprise, be it communication or the like, but even on a private, on a private scale. For example, my partner and I, we're just moving into a new apartment, and the first thing, he works in 3D modeling, so he just got us a 3D model of our new apartment, and then it was all cool to to furnish that apartment, because you could just either use an app. For example, Wayfair has an app where you have 3D showroom and you can drag out the items and see them in real, in real dimensions or one-on-one dimensions in your space. Or at the same time, different companies already support, if you just open the browser of their normal web page, a specific flag or MagicLeap script, so to say, where you can drag this object and just from the browser window and see it exactly in 3D in its normal real dimensions. So yeah, there are many use cases. Maybe here a short overview of what this means. So for 3D visualization, as we said, you can literally enhance the design and the review process tremendously. At the same time, for learning and training, within just 1 week, you can have your own learning data. Here on the top, we can see Autonomy X, which is an app. This is for medical students. For them, it's much easier to see the body in 3D and have all different layers that they can either see or focus on different, be it from the blood circle and all that. And on the bottom, you see basically an app for blue-collar workers, how to deal with the different machines and have the different stations. And the awesome thing about this is it literally reduces the time that you for the training by 60% and the error rate by 80%. Can you imagine that? But just within a week, you with external partners of ours, you can just get your own content. And yeah, if you have people to train, doesn't matter for whether it's blue collar or white collar use cases, there's definitely tremendous benefit. When it comes to communication and collaboration, here on the top you see an image where it's all about teleportation. So you literally see the other person, not just as an avatar, but literally the hologram, so to say, or teleported person, which in this case is basically for sales in real estate. So here you have investors that don't want to travel all around the world to see the different skyscrapers and huge objects that they want to invest in. But they would get a short list just by being able to talk to a salesperson and seeing the content shown to them in the middle of that. And yeah, so it's a whole lot of different use cases that you can benefit from. And now I'd like to talk a bit more about the device. So the device itself, the wearable part is, you have the part that you put on your head, which is the light wear. Then you have the light pack, which is the small computer that you stick to your pocket. And then you have a control. It's a 6 degrees of freedom control. And to produce that, it took literally every STEM discipline. So this means cutting edge innovation on computer science, electrical engineering, material science, and all the different disciplines. So if you ever want to push the boundaries of what's possible, here definitely you can do so on all different disciplines. How did you do all that? So MagicLeap was founded in 2011, so about 8 years ago. By now, we have more than 1,600 employees and filed more than 3,000 patents. To the right, you can see the different offices, headquartered in Florida, with several offices in the US. And now that we've heard in the previous talk that we should strengthen Europe, we have also a headquarter in Switzerland, which is great. And from there, strengthening Europe. Right now, the product has been launched last year in August in the US, and soon will be launched in Europe in the different markets. Looking forward to that, super excited actually. Then for different strategic partners, we have partners from Google, from Alibaba, all the way to telco partners, for example, AT&T, and different investors. So now I'd like to talk about 3 things on the device, which makes it unique. So one thing is the display, the second thing is how it recognizes the space, and the third thing is how we are able to interact with the device, so the input modalities. So in the interest of time, which is getting slow, I might not go too much into detail on that, but basically what's the big difference is, like, if you just have one display, then your eye always focuses on exactly that distance. But if you have multiple displays, your eye can switch between them, and those displays, basically each of these layers is for different distances. So it's much more comfortable for your brain, basically, because it's the brain who literally puts together the 3D image from, like, the two images of the eye that work like a camera, and then you have the lens that accommodates depending on the focus, and you have the vergence, which is like depending whether a distance, like whether the object is close, your eyes turn inwards, versus when it's far away, they're pretty parallel. And so this is called vergence accommodation conflict that is happening with traditional devices, because if you take those parameters together, it's the brain that builds up the 3D model, and which gets confused if the accommodation is the same for no matter how far the object is away. So how we do it with multiple layers, it's literally, depending on where the content is, you would just treat it differently. And for that, like, it has always been very important to our CEO that our device respects the physiology. So this is what we call a MagicLeap light field. Then when it comes to spatial computing, like, maybe a quick question, who is familiar with virtual reality? Okay. And who knows the difference between augmented reality and spatial reality? Spatial computing, sorry. Okay. So, hi. So basically, virtual reality is you have a device. The only thing that you see is the virtual world, and the real world is totally excluded. So it's like, you don't see through. Augmented reality is a see through the device, but actually it's in 2D. So this is, like, you can imagine, like on an iPad, seeing additional layer on the content that is around you. And when it comes to spatial computing, you literally see 3D content, and it respects the space around you. So here you can see this little creature who is, like, behind the couch. And it shows us behind the couch, not just as an overlay, or what you can see in the augmented reality. And this is a huge difference in how you, what you can use the display for, basically. So just quickly on the different input modalities. So like, there are tremendous different ways of how you can interact with the device. So through the head pose, like basically where you're looking at, when it comes to the eyes, but also when you blink, the device also recognizes emotions, like facial emotions. It even is able to track your gait, your heartbeat, and your smile, gestures. Obviously, like, you can interact with gestures or with the controller. Basically a whole lot of interaction, which on the long run makes personalization so much more possible. And this is, like, a few years ago, I gave a talk on the next level of artificial intelligence and explained a bit on why I'm, like, super excited about the personalization, and that we should really push for a much further level than where we are at the moment. So to give you a bit of insight in that, So here you can see a video on Micah. So it has been, like, a person has been basically captured with cameras, and at the same time they calculated all the different models, like a lot of AI used for that, to emote her in a realistic way, like all the emotions. And on the long run, what's the goal with Micro? It's literally to not just have an assistant where you say, how long does it take please, to go to the airport, please order a cab, but to literally have a mentor and who would teach you all sorts of skills, like whether it's to improve your presentation skills, your communication skills, your like all different ways. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the presentation. Like try to make it short and at the same time give a bit of impression on what like the motivation of this device, then how we can use it, and describe a bit the technology that's behind it, and give a bit of an outlook for the future. And yeah, please reach out to myself and my team at like international sales at MagicLeap.com. Feel free to grab your mobile and take a picture if you're interested. And yeah, happy to connect. So, thank you.